Hello, learners. Welcome to GS Digital Intervention Program for SHS. The subject is English Language Composition, lesson number 2. The topic is essay writing. The lesson title, Types of Letters. I am your facilitator, Felicia Esimenkori. Now, let's look at these readers as a starter. I am a means of communicating with people all around the world through the post office. Who am I? 2. I begin with dear sir or madam. Who am I? Learners, what do you think today's lesson will be about? Now, we are looking at our learning outcomes. We are going to discuss types of letters and then 2, explore the differences between formal, semi-formal, and informal letters. Our lesson outline. 1 is types of letters, and 2, differences between formal letters, semi-formal, and informal letters. Now, we are looking at these keywords. Letter writing, formal letters, informal letters, semi-formal letters. What these words, you'll be meeting some in as we continue. Types of letters. For example, formal letters. We have application letters, letters to organizations or heads of institutions. The language should be formal. The language, there's no need for pleasantries. There's no need for jargons. And then also, don't use contracted form. Informal letters are letters to friends in other schools and our relatives who are so close to us. For that one, you can use pleasantries. You can also use contracted form or a few jargons. But then semi-formal letters are letters you can write to adult friends or a relative who is not so close to us. And that one, you have to know the tone of the letter. It should be in a polite tone. So you can use some sort of pleasantries. Now, what are the features of formal letters? We are going to look at the features of formal letters. So get ready and then listen attentively. When we talk of a formal letter, they are having address of the writer and then also the recipient. Who is the recipient? The one going to receive the letter and the one going to write the letter is the writer. Remember your writer. Don't write your address in block letters. Write down only initial letters as capitals. Don't write your name on top. The date is not part of the address, so try and put down your date. Then come to the salutation. Salutation is always dear sir or madam. Don't write dear sir and madam together at the same time. You bring a comma after the dear sir. Then you have your heading. The heading should be written after the salutation. Don't write your heading before your salutation. Heading could be written in block letters, or you can write your heading with only initial letters, capital. Then you separate the body of that letter, the essay, from the heading by underlining the heading. Then the body, as I said earlier, don't use your introduction to ask for pleasantries or to use jargons or to make it like a friendly letter, whereby you use contracted form. The introduction could be like you only look at the question that is involved and introduce it briefly in your introduction. Some keywords could be explained in the introduction. Now the main content will depend on the question given to you. So you build your content paragraph by paragraph by stating a point and then explaining the point. So when you mention the point, you explain it. Remember to look at your inter and inter-paragraph linkages so that your essay will flow. Then after the main content, you come to your conclusion. The conclusion will depend on the question. What are you expecting from the one to receive your letter? You can bring out your viewpoint. Don't forget that after the conclusion, we have the subscription. Formal letters normally we end with yours faithfully. And F should be a small letter. And then also there should be a comma after the faithfully. And then you sign your name. And then you write down your full name. Don't write down your full name before your signature. Don't write your name in capital letters, only initial letters, capital. I know you're able to do it. Remember, signature is there. As I've said, your full name is there. Now, let's move to the format. The format for formal letters, as we have on our slide. You are sending the address and then the date. Where the recipient address should be is on it. You have your salutation, your heading, introduction, main content, then conclusion. Then also you have your subscription, signature, and full name. Fine. Now we are now moving on to the features of informal letters, which sometimes you call friendly letters. What are the features? Let's look and see the features. Fine. That one also we have the sender's address, the one writing. Then also have salutation. And the salutation should be dear and the first name. We also have the body, introduction, and the introduction should be friendly. You can write what we call pleasantries. You can use contracted form. You can also have the main content. And it will depend on the question. Whatever the question is demanding will be your content. And so look at the question and bold that content or bold your paragraph per the content. Try and be using inter and intra-paragraph linkage. Remember to conclude your work. What will be my conclusion? It's a formal letter. What are you expecting from the one to receive your letter? Conclude by looking at the question, what the question tells you to do. That is what you must do. Don't run away from the question and write things that you don't need. Then you have the subscription. Subscription should be only yours and then the first name. No signature, no full name. Now the format, as usual, will be sender's address, date, salutation, introduction, main content, conclusion, and subscription, plus your first name. Semi-formal letters. Look at it closely. The name implies it has some partly formal and then partly informal. And these letters are different from informal letters in terms of subject matter and language tone. Salutations could be dear plus the title, Mr. or Mrs., then the name. For example, Mr. or Mrs. Akrofi, or it can be dear Uncle Ben or dear Uncle John. And then also, you can exchange pleasantries, such as, how are you? Now, my learners, right now that we have gone through all these things, normally we have two block letters. It could be formal or it could be informal. I want you to complete this table for me. Right now to write the difference between features of formal and then informal letters and share with your peers. You are welcome back. Now let's see the answers you wrote down. Compare these answers to what you wrote down and see whether you had the correct one. Formal letter will have recipient address. Informal, no recipient address. Formal letter will have a heading. Informal, no heading. So look at what you have on the board. Go through and check with yours and see. If there's any mistake or something you don't understand, then you go show it to your teacher. The teacher will help you. That's a homework for you. You are to write a letter to the municipal chief executive in your area. Complain about insanitary conditions in your community. State the effects and suggest what should be done. Question 2. Write a letter to your friend in another country telling him or her about a recent family celebration and the role you played. Copy your question down. Good. I know you have finished. Now let's see our preliminary session. From what we have discussed, I want you to use some few minutes to write down the features of formal letters and informal letters. Now, we are looking at our reflection for today. Learners, we have established the following. 1. Types of letters. We have known that the types of letters could be formal, informal, or it can also be semi-formal. We have known the features of all these letters. We have seen the language we should use in the introduction. We have seen the subscription. We have also seen that when I finish, those that I'm supposed to write my full name and those that I'm not supposed to write, and those that I'm supposed to sign. We have now seen also the differences between formal, semi-formal, and formal. We have known that formal letters are written for official purposes and goes to organization and heads of institution. We have also noticed that semi-formal are written to people who are not of our age group and could be to our daddy's friends. And the nature is not the same as informal letters. And in the semi-formal, we can use a little bit of pleasantries. Then again, we have also noticed that we have informal letters. And informal letters, it is friendly. And therefore, with the informal letters, we have to have an introduction that will make the person know that really there's some sort of intimacy between you and the one going to receive your letter. I hope you have learned a lot today. And anytime you meet any question on letter writing, we are going to use what you have learned today to help you to deliver very good letters. You are good. Today, your contribution has been special. You have done well. Thank you. Bye-bye.